Hello, this is a test. Hello, I hear me. Check, check. Yes, sir.
Affairs Committee for September 3rd, 2025 will now come to order at 1:59. Oh, I have a minute. I'm on a roll. There we go. Will now come to order at. Thank you. This meeting was called for the purposes listed on the duly posted meeting notice. The other committee members are Trustees Sean Shaban, Cynthia Litton-Gary, and alternate Trustee Renee Patterson. I'm sorry I butchered your name, colleague. A citizen desiring to appear before the Board of Trustees shall complete the hearing of citizen form 24 hours prior to the meeting and file said application with Board Services. At this time, I've been informed that no one has signed up to speak. Is that correct? Thank you. We will begin with item A, which is a proposed baccalaureate expansion conversation, or report item rather, and there is no action. So Dr. Margaret Ford Fisher.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. Applied baccalaureate degrees are workforce bachelor's degrees that provide a seamless pathway for our workforce students to continue on from an associate's workforce credential and on to a bachelor's degree in the workforce bachelor's degree field. If the bachelor's degree is not available through HCC, then our associate degree completers may then opt to enroll at another community college for the final 2 years, if the baccalaureate degree is available at their institutions. Colleges are allowed to offer a maximum of 5 baccalaureate degrees. We are now eligible to provide pathways to the bachelor's degree in 3 additional fields to serve the unique needs of our communities, our students, and of course the businesses who work with us. So with your permission, Madam Chair, Dr. Norma Perez, Senior Vice Chancellor of Instruction and Student Services, and Dr. Miguel Ramos, Vice Chancellor of Instructional Services, will lead the presentation of the disciplines under consideration and proposed and answer all questions. Dr. Perez.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon.
Trustees and Chancellor. Today we're here to present a more detailed report on the significant 3 new proposed baccalaureate degrees being considered. If you have attended any of the community partnership events being held at each of our colleges, you heard HCC has identified 3 areas of focus: nursing, computer information systems, and business, for potential baccalaureate degrees development. I shared these areas of focus at the Board of Trustees meeting held on June the 18th, 2025, described at the time as nursing, computer science, and business management. The next step in the process is collecting feedback and perspectives from stakeholders to provide guidance and context for program development. Over the next year, each of these program areas will engage in deep conversations about the design of each degree plan, including curriculum, potential specialization tracks, as well as faculty needs and budgetary needs. The goal would be to present at least 1, if not 2, fully articulated new baccalaureate degree plans for the HCC Board of Trustees consideration by November of 2026. With your permission, I will hand over the presentation to Dr. Ramos, who will provide a more detailed overview of how we came about the selection of these 3 proposed baccalaureate degrees. Dr. Ramos?
Good afternoon, Chancellor, Madam Chair, and Trustees.
Good afternoon.
So I want to walk through the process a little bit of how we arrived at these areas of focus. And I do want to emphasize from the start that they're areas of focus, but these are not definitive. For those of you that were here during the previous deliberation around artificial intelligence and healthcare management, we went through some iterations at the beginning. We talked about different strategies, different approaches. For those that were here, we actually had begun with a healthcare management in respiratory therapy and soon realized, why would we limit ourselves to just respiratory therapy? So we opened up a little bit. So first, I want to illustrate the timeline, going from a level 1 to a level 2. So we saw our first baccalaureate graduates in May, which is a great achievement for them and a high point for HCC that prompted the move from a level 1 to a level 2. But this timeline also illustrates that it was a long journey to get there. It took us time to go through the process of development, developing projections, developing faculty strands, looking at budget, and also looking at the industry. We did a lot of research on what's out there, what's needed, what's coming next. So now we're in the early stages of the baccalaureate development process, after having identified the areas of study that we would like to focus on, which is our topic for today. The selection itself was based on factors such as potential labor demand, student demand, growth opportunities, and considerations of credentials of value and high demand status in the region and in the state. So the information itself was drawn from several different places. Faculty groups presented ideas that the CEC considered, so they brought forth their proposals, or pre-proposals really, around several different strands. And we also had the CEC make its own contributions during deliberations and discussions. One of the key pieces of information that we focused on is a report from Hanover Research. So we actually worked with Hanover for them to develop a market opportunity scan, because we wanted to get a sense of what opportunities were out there for HCC in this baccalaureate space. So I'd like to point out on this chart, for those of you that can see, really it pointed out a couple of areas. So everything that's in yellow was what they call the information technology strand. Everything in blue was their management strand. So business, management, organization, leadership, these sorts of things. We noticed that in green, the registered nurse was also a high growth performer in terms of student demand and labor growth. And then we also already have the healthcare and health administration management, which as you can see was high growth on both strands. In fact, I think if you dig deeper into the report, that was the highest demand over time. They had a high growth potential in healthcare management, so it's great that we already have that. So after looking at these strands, looking at the information from the proposals, and then also the community survey reports that were administered last fall in our community partnership meetings, as Dr. Burridge just mentioned, some of her presentations in those meetings in the past couple of weeks, the three strands that people focus on the most in the community are business, health management, and artificial intelligence. So again, in that technology computing space. So based on all of these factors and these deliberations, we've identified the general areas of computer information systems, nursing, and business. So the snapshot that you see in this slide is based off Lightcast data. So it kind of illustrates the potential for some of these areas in terms of annual average starting salary, annual openings, and the 5-year growth potential. This data will change over time as we investigate the various possibilities within each of these degrees. I think the only one, and Dr. Harrison, you can tell me if I'm totally off base here, the only one that won't have specializations is probably nursing, because a BSN is a BSN. It doesn't have any other flavors. Business is probably the one that has the most possibility for specializations, because there's not only is there a wide range of topic areas within business itself and management leadership, but there's also a lot of opportunity outside the discipline for management in other spaces. We already have healthcare management, but there's industrial management, operations management, so there's other opportunities in that area. The general timeline is development from fall of 25 through September of 2026. So over the next year, we're going to be having these discussions, development. I think the first idea is to kind of pick the house. We've already identified the neighborhoods that we want to be in. Now we got to define what kind of house we have. What is the structure of the degree that we're looking for? Because once we identify, for example, the zip codes that we're going to be using, we can start then deliberating on facilities, faculty needs, financing, all of the different budget elements that come into play. Our goal is to have a rough estimate of budget sometime before we start the budget cycle, so we can include that in our preparations for the following year. So in September through October of 2026, our plan is to have the fully realized degree plans in front of the Curriculum and Dean Council for review, followed by our Chief Academic Officer review, with ultimate review by the Board of Trustees in November or December of 2026, depending on how close we want to be to the submission date for the CB. In January, we would submit to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, followed by SAC submission. So both any degrees at the baccalaureate level are going to need to go through SAC's review. And then finally, we would hope for a July 27 SAC's approval decision, with implementation to follow in August of 2027. So I think that the primary focus, at least initially, will be in the business area and the computer information systems area. We want to make sure that we get through cleanly on the nursing programs before we make that attempt, but that doesn't mean we can't work on the baccalaureate degree in the next year for nursing as well, just to be prepared for all eventualities. So that is the end of the formal presentation, but I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments that you all may have.
Colleagues, any questions? Trustee Shaban?
Appreciate the presentation and incredibly exciting. opportunity for the institution and for the greater Houston community going forward on this. Just want to say the one of these that is, hands down support, go as quickly as we possibly can from my perspective is the nursing degree. I think there's a clear need. We got a clear lane. The faster that we can get that up and running, in my perspective, the better. On the other two, I heard what y'all heard in the community partnerships meeting where there was a lot of interest in these degree paths and these pathways. I think there's two elements that I'd really want to make sure that we're diligent about as we're developing these materials through the fall semester. The first is these are pathways that have a lot of current activity with some of our four-year partner institutions, yes. U of H downtown, as well as some of the bigger statewide universities. And so question number one, have y'all had an opportunity to engage with our four-year partner institutions about how our offering might flange up or compete with their four-year offerings to make sure that we're not actively competing over the same needs, that we have discrete lanes, and that everybody can attract the students that would be attracted by the institutions?
Sure. We haven't had direct discussions with 4 years. We do scan the 4 years to make sure that we have some space to work with. There's actually a formal process through the CB in which we submit the planning to them, and the CB reaches out to the HERC, so the Regional Gulf Coast Council here, and they then have an opportunity to provide information to us about any concerns they may have. It's a pretty standard process. We receive those notifications all the time. I think recently we got a master's in computer science to review, which doesn't really affect us, so we said that's fine. But every institution in the region receives a notification. Each president receives it, and they distribute it to their provost or chief academic officers, and we have those conversations.
No, thanks for that. Over the next month, I think it'd be really helpful before y'all come back to us just to have conversations, especially with those Houston area four-year institutions, so that we can get, their input through you in that presentation about everybody's comfort level with us standing up what could from the outside look like competing pathways. I think that would be a really helpful addition to that presentation. The second question is on the computer information systems. There's a lot of buzz in the last couple of weeks about AI finally starting to visibly chip away at employment data in those systems. I think the St. Louis Fed just issued a report showing that both computer science and computer engineering underemployment statistics are a couple of percentage points higher than the broad graduating undergraduate population. And so curious how y'all are taking things like that into account, but B, curious if the employment situation in the computer science and computer engineering sectors degrades further because of the impacts of AI. Is there a backup plan? Is there another degree path that we can explore that's less exposed to that kind of AI-influenced short-term, employment opportunity impact, so that we can still fill out our dance card of 5 pathways without diving into something that's already kind of structurally weak from an employment standpoint?
Absolutely. We always want to make sure we have backup plans. So there were other ideas in the hopper in terms of what we might consider for a baccalaureate degree, and certainly putting out a call for more ideas is always an option. In terms of examining market and labor information, that is something we constantly are engaged with. So, for example, when we were looking at healthcare management and artificial intelligence, we actually did a deep dive on a lot of not just think pieces, but also presidential commission reports on artificial intelligence, labor market from the Department of Labor on healthcare management. So it's a very deliberate process. And one thing that I can say with full confidence is that we would not propose an award in which we saw a decline in potential over time. One of the key components in our annual program vitality reporting is in our LightCast reporting is the automation index, which gives us a long-term view about the extent to which a particular discipline may be affected or impacted negatively by automation components. So we always take that into account as well in terms of the long term. The flip side of that is trying to gauge the long-term perspective of the field itself. So, for example, if you had tried to go to law school 10 years ago, people would have said you were crazy because the law school enrollment had plummeted and been destroyed essentially, but it's made a comeback. So at some point, there was an additional increase in enrollment. One of the areas that we always focus on in that regard is petroleum. We see peaks and valleys depending on the market, and so we generally tend to not panic too much about declines in a given year. We try to look at the long-term perspectives in order to understand whether something should be, consolidated or deleted, or if it's simply something we see in the market at that time, but it's going to come back at some point.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trustee Sheben. No? Okay, well, thank you. That was very thorough, so thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to, if there's nothing else, we'll move to item B, Early College High School Program Update. Chancellor?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a discussion item that will provide an update on the Early College High School program and performance outcomes. And with your permission, Madam Chair, Dr. Norma Perez, Senior Vice Chancellor, and Dr. Lewis, Associate Vice Chancellor of Academic Readiness, will provide an overview and respond to questions. Dr. Perez.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good afternoon again, Madam Chair, trustees, and Chancellor. Today we want to highlight HCC's Early College High School Dual Credit Program. Through partnerships with multiple independent school districts, HCC provides students with the opportunity to earn an associate degree while completing their high school diploma. This initiative exemplifies HCC's commitment to a local focus, and through the successes of each student, ensures a global reach. At this time, I'd like to introduce the HCC Dual Credit team that actually does the work to ensure our partnerships with the ISDs continue to flourish and expand. Will Dean Chavez and Associate Dean Lillian Baldwin please stand? Next, will the P16 directors please stand? And then our pathway advisors and any other dual credit staff. Our pathways advisors must be at the high schools.
I
Again,
see.
thank you, you guys, thank you again
Yeah,
for
good comment.
supporting us with that request last year. Shortly, you'll hear from the Associate Vice Chancellor, Dr. Desmond Lewis. We are also proud to mention that Texas's first early college high school, Challenge Early College High School, was established in 2003 as a collaboration between Houston ISD, Houston A+ Challenge, and Houston Community College, now Houston City College. It continues to thrive on HCC's West Loop campus, graduating students year after year. It should also be noted that 5 of our early college high schools were ranked in the top 20 best high schools in the Houston area per the 25-26 U.S. News and World Report, which exemplifies the excellence of this initiative. Well, this presentation is about the early college high school. Keep in mind that we also now have 9 P-TECH high schools, 3 in HISD, 2 in Fort Bend, and 1 in Stafford, and 3 in different charter schools. As a native Houstonian and HISD graduate, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of the early college high school dual credit program for our community. This program has transformed countless lives and is positioned to continue making a significant impact. Now, with your permission, I will hand over the presentation to Dr. Lewis, who will provide a more comprehensive overview of the early college high school program, its performance outcome, and its support. Dr. Lewis?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, trustees, Chancellor, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. The Early College program offers high school students an amazing opportunity for degree attainment while completing their high school diploma. With this being said, an overview of its supports will provide you a clear understanding of the impacts of this amazing program. This is just giving you an overview of the 2 types of pathways which align with the types of endorsements that students are placed in, which would be academic or workforce. Early college high schools align more with the academic, whereas P-TECH would be more workforce. Here, you have the definitions and the types of the dual credit that are offered here through our dual credit program, which are the early college high school, the P-TECH, and traditional. Now, let me say we're growing in all of these areas, which you'll see some evidence of that in a moment. These, as you look at all the dots on this screen, and they grow each year, we have more and more dual credit locations. So this represents all of the dual credit locations across the district that HCC currently participates in, and this focuses on the early college high schools, which you see there are several early college high schools on this map. Now let's get into an overview of the entire early high school process. The process of early college high school designation is initiated by K-12 partners, where it indicates its partnering institution, or its IHE, to deliver the college courses. As noted, the process is ongoing and has multiple stages. So with all of our early high schools, they will be in different stages depending upon the year that they were established or approved by TEA. HCC has 4 ISD partners with 12 early college high school locations, whereas HISD has the most, which are 9. And of those 9, 2, Sharpstown International and Westside, are newly designated starting this fall. They're considered schools within a school. Now, as reported in the U.S. News, as Dr. Perea said a moment ago, many of Houston area schools rank high. Of the top 15, HCC provides dual credit for 11 of those schools. Now, we're continuing to spread out, and hopefully we'll get to most of all of these schools if they're within our service area. Here, you will see the data indicates stable early college enrollment from year to year with a cumulative increase over the 3 years. The data for completers, and let me define completers for you. Completers are the students who've earned an award while they're in dual credit. So that's what completers is referring to. And you can see there's an increase there. It's moving from year to year as well. The data here in regard to awards, because of course the completers, they earn awards, there's an increase here as well, and from academic year 22 to 25 by 40.1%. And from academic year 24 to academic year 25, there's a 7.5% increase. So we're doing better year after year. Early college high school rates indicate overall stability, and in most cases it's improving. So we're working in those areas that we need to focus on, and those areas where we're doing well, we continue to thrive. Here, the number of students returning to HCC from early college dual credit programs is decreasing. But that's not negative. That's a positive, because it means more students are completing. And that's the purpose for those students to be here. They're completing and they're receiving their awards. The most recent graduation acts as evidence of the ever-increasing number of graduates from dual credit. This slide just indicates the number of the transfer schools for all of those early colleges. And as you see, it's a wide range of schools, University of Houston, so forth and so on. In regard to the supports for dual credit, there are multiple tiered supports. As noted on this slide, each early college area has a dedicated P16 director, advising team, and also they have other support staff. These teams provide comprehensive supports to the early college and dual credit students from the time of onboarding throughout graduation. The supports include degree plan distributions, progress meetings, early alert follow-ups with necessary academic and non-academic supports, just to name a few. Furthermore, the dean and associate dean act as a second tier of support with the follow-up as needed with the ISDs through monthly dual credit advisory committee meetings where feedback is solicited and necessary actions are taken immediately. To provide further detail, you see the different types of processes we have here in regard to the early college process. The students are identified by the ISDs, again, as I said, with the TEA designation of an early college or a PTEC. Information comes from the high school, and we work collaboratively with those high schools, whereas at some point there's a workshop and various meetings with the P16 team and the early colleges where the public, students, so forth and so on are able to work through those processes. And you can see at number 3, the commit to complete, and working to ensure we get the buy-in from the students and their families at the beginning of their entire early, dual credit process. Then we have degree plan reviews throughout the process, and of course we monitor their progress all the way through completion. In conclusion, the early college designation is determined by TEA. We have multiple partnerships with various different ISDs and of course one MSD. Early college enrollment is going up, the completers are increasing, the awards are increasing. Success rates remain relatively high and stable. Our supports, as you just saw a moment ago, are very robust, and the process is collaborative and student-centered. So I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Yes, thank you for that presentation. I do. You mentioned earlier the number of high school students in dual credit is the number is decreasing in terms of enrollment are continuing the enrollment in HCC and that that's a good thing, right? And so, but now that we're offering 4-year degrees, what is the plan of this area to market that so that we do get these students to come in and enroll in these new 4-year degrees?
It's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Now, I was focusing on when I said the number was going down on the early college students whose purpose is to obtain the associate's degree while they're in school. So they're completing those. The plan to move forward with that is we're meeting with our students in the process now to see how many of those students we can get to obtain additional credentials while they're
Or
in school.
additional credentials,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, that's what we're doing. We have boot camps. We have, in fact, Dr. Perez and I have a meeting tomorrow with HISD to speak through some of these matters. And also we've met with various other districts in regard to those same opportunities. But to answer your question specifically, Dean Chavez and her team, they're collaboratively and strategically working with each of the partners to align what those students are doing within their degree plans that they're on at the school and their future plans, if their plans align with a 4-year degree or certificate with the programs that we're offering here at HCC.
Because this dual credit program, I would like us to continue to see that as a pathway to get students here, right? And with what you just said, whether it's through, looking at some other certification after they get that 2-year associate's,
Right.
a 4-year degree, or whatever that may be. So, okay, there's that. The other thing is you are referring to ISD. So you're eliminating. And I know we've talked about private schools and how we've tried that, but I still think that's a whole other area that we really need to market to, and that's that private school setting, because not all of those students are going to a 4-year degree like is the case in any school system, right? And then also when you just say ISDs or MSDs, you're also leaving out not only the 3 charters you're working with now, but also all the other potential charter schools that we could be working with. So moving forward, I'd like us to tweak that if you don't mind. And let's be more, I don't know if we say school systems or how we say that, but when we just identify it as an ISD, we leave out all the other
Sure.
potential, students that are attending these other institutions that need to partner with us. So I just wanted to say that. And but other than that, the presentation's very clear. I like what I'm seeing, so thank you. I appreciate that. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Trustee Sheben?
I just want to second amazing presentation and amazing work by the whole team. It's really great to see these numbers continue to move in the right direction. And I know y'all are impacting a ton of lives by the work that you're doing. The one question I had on here is on your first 3-panel slide with the different offerings of the academic associates, the P-Tech, and dual credit. I was a little bit surprised to see that we don't yet have kind of a standalone P-Tech early college program. So curious from your perspective with the different conversations you're having with our ISD partners and charter partners, is there an appetite for that? And is that something that we could see in the next 3-5 years, standing up a P-Tech dedicated or a P-Tech focused campus to really meet that need?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. And this speaks also to Trustee Tomaz. We do have P-Techs. We have several P-Techs. But this particular presentation focused on the early college. So the early college and the P-Techs are forms of moving students through to let them obtain. So it wasn't an oversight with the MSDs or the ISDs. It's just that with the charter schools, those are all P-Techs. So we have 10 P-Techs. And those P-Techs we have with 2 ISDs, 1 MSD, and 3 charters that we have with the P-Techs. And with those P-Techs, we're working through collaboratively. But more to that point, here's something I'm sure you will find very interesting. With one of our ISDs, we're working, they don't have the P-Tech designation, but the purpose is to get students through. And at Barbara Jordan right now, we are working with HISD with several different programs to get students in to make sure they complete. And besides Barbara Jordan, and I have to give a shout out to Dr. Fortune at North Forest, we have North Forest High School. We have students being bused there now for various P-Tech and CTE alignment courses. So to answer your question, Trustee Cheban, we have P-Tech aligned and set up programs. Again, with this particular slide, the early college is focused more on academic. The P-Techs are working on workforce. Yes.
I think, if you don't mind, the question that Trustee Sheben is asking, and I know that I've talked to colleagues out there more in the charter world, there is a lot of interest in having a standalone P-TECH college is what he's referring to. No, we don't have that.
No.
We have early college, but the need for P-TECH, and I know several those leading the charter movement have tried or are trying or would like to, Chancellor, partner with HCC to have that at one of our campuses where it's a standalone P-TECH academy. That's really, really important because it's not just the academic piece with the early college dual credit piece, but it's also that P-TECH piece.
Right.
So I'd love for us to truly work together with our presidents and all to open our doors to that possibility of how we can partner with folks, whether it's ISDs or charters or whatever it may be, to see how we can join together to do that.
I'm glad you brought that up because right now we are currently working with Aldine High School, and they're trying to create their first P-TECH for health sciences, along with Dr. Harrison. We've been meeting with Dr. Harrison and with Memorial Hermann. I'm sure that all of you heard about the funding that Aldine received from Bloomberg. The idea is that the focus of that school is basically health sciences, and it's a new facility. They're creating a new building, and they've asked HCC to partner with them. So we're working with them, and hopefully we'll get that running. I think we're shooting for spring? Yes. Sometime in spring to hopefully start some classes out at that location. But it will be a early college, high school, but for P-TECH.
P-TECH. Thank you, Dr. Paris. Anything else, Trustee Sheben?
That was it. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, anyone? No? Okay. Yes. Madam Chair.
I'd just like to make sure, again, thank you for the presentation. And also, in seeing our early colleges, they've been very successful. And I know that they're always having a waiting line to get in. And so that speaks very highly of it. And so some of us get phone calls and see if we have any direct connections to get their students in there or family members. And so we just need to keep making it challenging, exciting, and letting them know that this is, when we have graduation, those little gold collars, they really stand out. And this last graduation, I think we had more with gold collars than others, and the comment was, wow, they're doing really well. So I think they're hearing that it's free, and they're coming to college and getting those credits. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we will move to item C, an update on our Ride Metro program. And I'd like to remind my colleagues that every month I send out communication so that if you have any topics that you'd like discussed, that those are added to the agenda. And in my conversations before every meeting with the Chancellor, she takes that information and is really great about making sure that it's on the agenda and that we get this, something that we can talk about and discuss. So thank you for that, Chancellor. So the next item is the Ride Metro program. If you could take it from there.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the board. This item provides an update on progress toward becoming a sponsor of reduced rate cards for students and an update on the Ride Metro program. And with your permission, Madam Chair, Dr. Sherry Hahn, Senior Vice Chancellor of Finance Administration, will provide the update. Dr. Hahn.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Board Chair, Trustees, and Chancellor. This report is just a very brief update about our intention to offer discounted mass transit fare through the new Ride Metro program. There is a current Q card program offered through Metro. It's slightly different terms and conditions than what we're moving to. We were hoping that we could launch in late September, early October. It may be November by the time we actually see Metro step up to their expected launch date. They don't have a date certain yet, and I just checked on it yesterday. Meanwhile, students, we have a volume of the old Q card that was distributed in previous years, and it's now being resupplied. We have about 2,000 of those cards to be distributed across all campuses. This card contains $0 for free trips, which is part of the new terms and conditions of the Ride Metro program, but it does still have the 50% fare discount. So it was no cost to us, and it still is no cost to us until we bridge into that new program. The contract is under review by General Counsel. We've shown you the flyer to promote it. Everyone's pretty excited about it. We also have a very detailed implementation plan to assure that since the new cards will have a dollar value built into them, almost $5, you'll see it on another slide, we want to make sure that they're secure when we receive them and secure as they are distributed. We also have a plan to ensure that only students receive the cards so they don't disappear in other ways. And we have a kind of a clever way to do that electronically. So we looked at several different views of the cost for this. We started out with a $69,000 cost. We felt that was too expensive for us given our budget constraints for FY26. We wound up with 3,446 cards that would be distributed across all 6 brick and mortar campuses. Based on the college's projected needs, we work with the colleges to determine what they need. The cards would be distributed for the fall and spring semesters. The cost went from $69,000 to roughly $23,000. And there would be several free trips on the card just to kind of whet the appetite of the student to start using the card, roughly $5 per card, as you can see there, with a $2 activation cost. We also built in, just because we are conscious of education and how important it is, we're saying you need to have at least 66 credit hours built in or 80 contact hours. We won't give it for less than that. And then we'll maintain contact and collaborate with Metro during the transition period, and I do keep in touch with them periodically to see if things are moving along any sooner. Now, students, once that $4.80 is used up on the Ride Metro card, they can add to the card, so it will be a card they keep. It's not temporary, it's a card they keep and can add to and continue to get a discount. As a matter of fact, on the 10th ride, after 10 trips, I believe they get 1 free trip. That's what the flyer looks like. The various colleges and COOs have this and are distributing it, although we know that this is yet to be realized by Metro. Happy to answer any questions at all.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. Any questions or comments, colleagues? No? Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate that. Oh, we have someone?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Trustee Reichart.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you compare it to what we had before?
Sure. It's sort of, it's a sort of a semantic difference, if you will. Before, we were considered card distributors. So students got the same 50% discount. Students could get the card. It had no value on it, but they got a break on the fare, right? Now, Metro, in order to make some revenue, is calling us sponsors. And in order to be sponsors, we have to give them some revenue, and that's what the $4.80 per card represents, several free trips. Each trip would be $1.20, which is the 50% discounted fare. So we're giving the students a little teaser, free trip, several free trips, and then students would add to the card as they might have done previously with the old card. So students still benefit at the same rate. It's just that this is now costing the college system $23,000 a year, whereas before we had zero cost.
I would just like to emphasize and ask the administration to please keep the trustees in mind. Since our previous arrangement that was cheaper for the college fell apart, if there's ever a time where you can't hold on to something like that, the trustees have lots of connections in Metro. We have a lot of work that we do with people associated with Metro. And so that is something that we can step in and advocate for our students if necessary. So I just ask that you please keep us apprised. If you're unable to hold on to a benefit that our students have, to keep us apprised and in the loop, and hopefully we could try to bring something like that. And hopefully we can do something in the future to make things cheaper for the college. Thankfully, it won't increase prices for the students, but it is an expense. It is money that we could be spending on other things. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank
Thank
you
you
once again. Appreciate you. Next item is item D, Career Services Update. Madam Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a discussion item to provide a career services update that allows students to assess the utilization of relevant resources provided by Houston City College, including Career Hub, used to assist students in their pursuit of gainful employment. So with your permission, Madam Chair, Dr. Ramel Young, Vice Chancellor, will present the report. Dr. Young.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor, Madam Trustee. Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to share the Career Services report today. Career Services is an integral part of the HCC experience for our students, connecting students to employers and employers to our students. If you will indulge me just for one moment to just acknowledge the folks who actually do this work on a daily basis, if you would just please stand. Thank you. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for the opportunity to share that information. Career Services affords students an opportunity to connect with employers to include events, taking Career Services opportunities to engage with employers, and that's what we want to talk a bit about today. Career Hub is one of the tools that we use to let us know what's happening with our students, and you have that before you. Career Hub utilization is what we're sharing with you today, and we're identifying from 2022 to 2023 through 2025 the experiences our students have had through the use of Career Hub. And you see the unique logins, and this is our students actually logging into the system, the Career Services Hub, 14,000 students roughly logging in. That's from the 8,600 number to 14,000 is about a 49% difference. So that's been increasing over time. Resume loads. So our students are engaging with employers. We're helping them develop their resumes. And you see the numbers there of 43, 54, and 25, 24, 25. And that's the difference in 2022, 23 is about a 23% increase. Kiosk touch points, and you're familiar with kiosks. Our students are going and logging into kiosks. About 17,000 students have done that for the 24 period, up from the 10,000 that you see in the 22-23 period. Again, this is the utilization of our Career Hub service. Relatively flat on the student appointment requests. The high number is 3471 in 24-25. And job applications that affords our students an opportunity to upload their applications was higher in the 23-24 period, slightly down to 363, which is roughly a difference of 6.2%. Career Hub utilization from an employer perspective. And so employers and Career Hub registrations are down just a little, about from 2024 was 867, that's the high, and in 2024-25 was 712. Job postings were higher in the 2022-23 period and slightly down to 1,700 in the 24-25 period. Employer signups. This is where employers are coming on our campus and engaging with our students. You see that number's increased. And so we're delighted to see that number come from 118 up to 338 to 538. Experiential learning experiences is relatively flat for that period from 829 to 812 in 2020-24.
Hi, and I usually don't do this, but
Yes.
if you go back to slide 2.
2?
On the job applications, and you may have addressed it, and I missed it for a moment to check something to my right, but what do you attribute that decrease in job applications to?
Let me, if you don't mind, rely on a resource here. James, if you don't mind coming forward. Give a little insight on that.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your question,
Sorry.
your question about the job applications, those numbers going down. There are varying factors to what's happening when students log into Career Hub. They're going in to schedule appointments, apply for jobs. Jobs are being posted obviously by companies, and as you see in the data, the number of registrations has been, if anything, going down slightly. I think about what's happening economically, not just in Houston, but around the United States. That's impacting how companies are recruiting talent. That could impact the companies that are coming into our system and posting jobs from time to time. At the same time, this is also about companies posting on a regular basis in our system. And there's an opportunity to engage those companies consistently to ensure that they're posting perhaps every semester rather than annually. But I'd say there are varying factors to why those numbers are slightly down.
And I guess the reason I ask is for what you said earlier. It's about how are we engaging these potential hiring firms or companies or what have you to do that, right? To post those openings and so forth. And I think that's what I was getting at, is that what does that look like? What does that look like? If I'm a company, how are you, what does that marketing effort look like so that we can get them to do this at greater numbers?
So as I think here, maybe the previous slide, it was focused on Career Hub from an employer standpoint. You could see that there were hundreds of companies that posted, created accounts in our system.
Yeah.
We engage those companies in our system about posting jobs, periodic updates, reminding them about our career fairs. Our career fairs are stretched from September all the way through April of next year, every year. So part of that engagement is not just attending career fairs, but it's also posting jobs, posting internships. And so there's an internal campaign engaging those organizations to post with us. At the same time, as you saw in the data, we're also looking for ways to have companies come on site and conduct interviews. And you may have seen here in the data that number has gone up tremendously in the past couple of years. We're wanting to emphasize companies conducting interviews, not just posting jobs. And if you can imagine, in general in the world of work, how companies recruit is changing. Companies may have gone to ZipRecruiter or Indeed or posted on LinkedIn or posted in a job board, but we're also realizing that companies are curating their own networking opportunities. That affords us an opportunity to engage them to come on campus or to conduct virtual opportunities as well. As I mentioned, varying factors into why the number of job postings have gone down, why the number of course, applications have gone down tied to job postings. But we can do more, obviously.
So we look at, okay, the employers, who's posting, who's hiring, who needs to drop off, or what do we need to do more because you're not posting enough, you're not interviewing our students, you're not. So we're tracking all of that, correct?
Yes, and I want you to know there's over 8,000 contacts in our system.
Yes.
We're engaging them as a whole all the time. And as you mentioned, some of them are actively involved in posting with us, coming on campus, participating in career fairs, conducting interviews, and others, it just changed. So if you could imagine, you have people behind the scenes that are creating these accounts. These people change from month to month.
Absolutely.
They leave their roles, go to another company, and so there's quite an operation behind the scenes to keep track of all those contacts to ensure that they're relevant, that they're still working in their roles, that when we're sending emails, is it really going to someone? Is it going just to an automatic reply? Or is it undeliverable because then that person doesn't work there anymore? Then we follow up with the company to find out who is the new point of contact that we can add into our system, continuing that engagement.
And updating.
So it's quite an operation when we talk about 8,000 contacts in our system.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you.
Well, one of the things that we talked about here, Trustee, was the opportunity here. What are the pain points? And that was one of the things that you lifted up. So there's a whole apparatus that's working here behind the scenes that's bigger than what you see in these numbers necessarily. And so improving upon those things, and we identify the opportunity to improve upon these things, is the challenge, but it's also the opportunity. And so we have the right people in place to be able to do that. As just a little more data with respect to career fairs, and these are employers coming onto the campus of HCC. For the 24-25 period, we had 26 career fairs, about 3,200 students participating, just a little over 300 employers participate in those activities. And this is just a depiction of one of the 26 events that were held during that time period. Some of the participants during the time period you see are from the healthcare industry, the Port of Houston. MD Anderson is a representative example of the healthcare industry. Just want to give the board a sense of the types of folks that we're having an opportunity to engage and for our students to engage with on their journey to employment. And so we're looking at students who are working with us, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the end. So just want to share that with you. The campus interview participants include some of these folks, State Farm, Hitachi, and then we did a survey with our students. About 2,000 students were surveyed at graduation to identify what percentage of them were employed full-time at the time that they graduated. And you see the numbers here respectively are 25% for employed full-time students, 22% were employed part-time, said they were employed part-time. Unemployed seeking employment, 34%. Unemployed seeking employment, unemployed not seeking employment, which was 19%. And seeking a continuing education program, we have folks who are interested in education. Undoubtedly, 80% of our students are continuing their educational pursuits. And never utilizing the career services hub here is 66%. So that's an opportunity for us to get out, engage with these students to make sure that they are aware that we have opportunities that afford them an opportunity to go to work if that's what they desire to do. Top selected universities from the students who were polled were Prairie View A&M, Texas A&M, Texas Southern University, University of Houston, and the University of Houston downtown. And the top employers that they selected were Amazon, Harris County, HEB, and Memorial Hermann, and I saved best for last, Houston City College. So opportunities, increase campus interviews. That's, I think the data tells us that. Promote company sessions, more of that. Encouraging faculty utilization, working with faculty to kind of carry this forward. Promoting student utilization, increasing the students utilizing this tool. Enhancing resume quality, incentivizing students to attend these events and benefit from the things that are afforded them through them. Leverage faculty participation and increasing vendor participation. So we have our work cut out for us, but we're up to the task.
Thank you. I always ask those questions because it is about monitoring, right?
Yes.
You've got to monitor, and I always like to hear, okay, what are we doing? You know, what are we doing? How are we keeping track and making sure we're updating this complex system of 8,000, for example, right? And so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any comments or any questions, colleagues? This is a great update and information. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
So if there's nothing else, I do want to my colleagues that just arrived. We did talk about the proposed four-year degree expansion. We talked about early college, high school, dual credit program update, an update on the RIDE Metro program, and an update on career services. So if you missed it, please be sure to access the video, and you'll see the information about each of this. So it was very thorough, and thank you again, Chancellor. Without anything else, this meeting of the Academic and Student Affairs meeting is now adjourned at
2:52 p.m.
Thank you.
The meeting of the Audit Committee for September 3rd, 2025 will now come to order at
2:57 p.m.
The meeting is called for the purposes listed on the duly posted meeting notice. The other committee members are Trustees Renee Patterson, Trustee Monica Flores-Reichart, and the alternate Trustee Lalu Davies. And Trustee Monica Flores-Reichart is remote. Opportunity for public comments. A citizen desiring to appear before the Board of Trustees shall complete the hearing of the citizen form 24 hours prior to the meeting and file said application with the Board Services Office. There are no citizens who signed up to speak before the Audit Committee today. We will now discuss item A, risk mitigation report, the deferred maintenance. This is a report item. No action is required. Chancellor Ford Fisher will introduce the item. Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. So this is a discussion item that provides an update on the deferred maintenance risk mitigation strategy and risk. And with your permission, Madam Chair, Mr. Robert McCracken, Vice Chancellor of Facilities, will provide an overview and respond to questions. Mr. McCracken.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good afternoon, trustees. I just want to take a minute at the very beginning of this. As we were putting this report together, it gave us an opportunity to kind of reflect on where we've come over the last year. And I think when you look through this report, you can see the tremendous amount of work that's been done by our facilities department to put in place a consistent process for managing of our deferred maintenance, projecting out what those expenses are going to be in future years, and really monitoring how effective we're going to be. There's a lot of data in this report. I'm going to ask James Walker, our Interim Chief Facilities Officer, to walk through it and just highlight some of the items.
Thank you, Bob. Madam Chair, trustees, Madam Chancellor, thank you. So we wanted to give this report an overview to focus on preventative maintenance and monitoring systems, deferred maintenance for FY25 and deferred maintenance for FY26. Touching on risk a bit, the biggest risk on deferred maintenance is need exceeding available budget. It can erode, degrade campus experience, and then it starts affecting students at that time. A little bit about mitigation. We'll get into more of this later, but we use preventative maintenance to maximize the life of building systems and equipment. We use it for prioritization of projects, and we use it for budgeting and tracking. All right, getting a little bit deeper into the mitigation strategy we use, preventative maintenance and system monitoring. In the maintenance world, this is where the rubber really hits the road on what we do here. Deferred maintenance plan was implemented to replace obsolete equipment. We constantly educate staff and vendors, leverage technology, prioritization for repairs, weekly visual inspections. We use building automation, work orders, outage tracking, and for example, to give you a few examples of how this works. This is a screenshot of our building automation monitoring system. So this is Southeast College, the central plant condenser water system side of the loop. So what this shows is the chiller, it shows the pumps, it shows the valves, it shows the cooling tower on the condenser side. And in the blue boxes, it gives you real-time information of what's going on in this plant for Southeast Campus on this condenser loop. And I also like to point out that if you look at the example of the alarm, the little red dot, and that tells the system that this bypass pump is out of tolerance, and then it sends to a different page, which is illustrated at the bottom, that someone needs to go check on that pump because it's out of tolerance. So that's our building automation monitoring. We have that throughout the entire system. Like to highlight our work order system, which is a different system. In the blue, you see planned maintenance. which is everyday PMs that we go out and check the equipment. The team goes out and does that. Then we have reactive maintenance. That's when something breaks, and we have to send somebody out to address that. And then you see the total for a 12-month period. It's 43,000 work orders put into the system. So facilities tracking and trending. This is something we've started in December of 2024. So we've got partial data on this. Interruptions are rated as minor, moderate, and major. This shows interruptions between December 24 and July when the report was done. And it shows the systems affected, colleges affected, and if you notice systems affected, fire, mechanical, electrical, things that are on the top of the list of our deferred maintenance deficiencies. Okay, now we move to FY25 update. This is a 7-year funding history. You're familiar with this chart. We just continue to add to this. But I must add the note that the year of FY25 or 26, excuse me, the estimated need was $43 million. We got $15 million and a $10 million amendment at the end of 25. Active projects of 25. These are multi-year projects that have long lead times, a lot of design. So you'll continue seeing us add to these, and as we complete them, they'll come off the list. Funds by college. Project financials. This is the same information on funds by college, but it's just in dollar format. Exigent spend. So we propose that we are attempting to stay under 15% of the total budget for exigent spend, and we do that by our mitigation efforts that we talked about a little bit before. So that's the goal, to keep this under 15%. But as you see, the trajectory of as we underfund, the exigent spend starts to go in an upward trajectory. All right, so deferred maintenance, the FCI, Facilities Condition Index. You've seen this slide before. I thought it'd be helpful to add it in again to show the 15 million investment. So we're roughly on the green line, moving towards 19.5 in 2030, which is getting to be average and below average if we continue with 15 million a year. Okay, so deferred maintenance program FY26, as I mentioned before, 15 million approved in the 26 budget, and 10 million for the amendment at the end of 25. Thank you for that. This next slide, it illustrates our 10-step prioritization process that we go through. Currently, we're on step 6 and 7, where we're validating and finalization of projects for implementation. So the annual assessment summary, this is just showing the items that were funded in FY25-26. And then the blue is showing the items that will have to be reassessed and addressed in future years. This is project budget by system. Again, you see fire, life safety, HVAC, electrical. That was at the top of the list for our interruptions. As you see, it's heavily represented here. Project breakdown by estimated cost. We thought it was important to show this slide because of the the difference between small, medium, and large projects. As we see, not all projects are large. So the plan is for the job order contracts to be utilized for the small and medium projects, and then the large $500,000 projects and over would come to the board for their approval. We have some appendix in the back. These are some definitions you've seen before. I thought they'd be helpful. Ranking criteria of systems, current deficiency list, where we're using to generate our projects, and summary of maintenance by building. I think we, in essence, I think we got a question about this particular slide, and I think the answer is the 20 through 25 through 2030 is shown on here, and then 25 through 35 is also shown on here. So in essence, we could use this data going on into the future, but the industry standard recommends that we conduct a new facilities condition assessment in 2029. So that concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you. I do know my colleague will have some questions. Trustee Chapin.
Just have one. So appreciate you speaking to the out years, the 2030 to 2035 deferred maintenance. I think it'd be helpful to understand a bit more how y'all came up with those numbers, because I know we haven't yet done a study to quantify it. So if you've got internal systems that are tracking and forecasting organically, that would be helpful to understand. And you mentioned, so A, that's number one. Number two, I'm really happy to see that we do have at least a swag at what those deferred maintenance costs look like in the out years, so that the board can start getting comfortable with, we've got this $400 million task ahead of us for the next 5 years. It seems like the next 5 years are currently forecasted to be not quite as painful, but when we put more meat on the bones, that'll probably look a little bit worse than it does currently. So really pleased that that number's in there. But yeah, just some more information over time with the assumptions that went into that 2030 to 2035 number, and how much we can really hang our hat on it versus where do we really need a study to fully flesh it out, I think would be helpful just as we start setting expectations. There's a lot of other big ticket items, including, ERP upgrades and all that could be coming in, and we need to stack all these on top of one another.
So yes. So the way it works in our database is, so if we put a new piece of equipment in today, and we have and it has a 10-year lifespan, that will show up in needing to be replaced in the life cycle of 10 years from now. So that's how it's calculated within the database. It's expiring equipment that goes into deficiency. And that's why we do the refresh each year, to make sure that because of budget, we have to push some things out. So that's how the database works. It looks out forward to make sure that those pieces of equipment that are expiring have some value to them.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Reichart. Is she there?
I'm here. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. This is the kind of in-depth report that we were looking for deferred maintenance and trying to make audit decisions or fiscal decisions concerning what we're going to do with all of our properties. Kudos on the deferred maintenance 10-step prioritization process update. That is very good to know. And I'm sure you all stay on task for that, but it is very impressive. On page 8, your facilities work order update.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be interesting to know, since this is a rolling 12-month window, what this looked like 12 months ago. Are our work orders increasing or are work orders decreasing? What is that looking like exactly?
I believe we can run that report for you.
Okay, so if we see it from 2022 to now, we want to see if the work orders are increasing or decreasing, and sometimes per college. One of our challenges is that we have buildings that we have had for 5 lifetimes, and then we have buildings that are relatively new. But it seems to me, as I read through this, that the buildings that are relatively new have some deferred maintenance issues, which I think they should not have. But that's just what I think. So we want to see if the newer buildings are faced with a higher number of work orders as opposed to the older buildings. I would think that the older buildings would have the greater issues, and if they do not, and the newer buildings do, then what is going on with that? Thank you for the tracking and trending, because this is tracking in December 2024. We have no data prior to that for facilities interruption tracking and trending.
Well, we did it in a different manner that wasn't really presentation friendly, I would say.
Okay, so for a general approach, we could see the total cost for 2023 for facilities, the total facilities tracking for 2023. We may not have to disaggregate it, but if we see it, we'll understand building interruptions and what that looked like in 2023 and what it looks like in 2024. These graphs should give us a general idea of which way we're trending and how, because when you start to stack the graphs on top of each other, there are some pinpoints that you can actually see. And that's what we're going to see when we get the data. So page 15. I'm kind of weird in that I look at deferred maintenance from 4 different perspectives, but I'm not going to ask you for 4. I'm going to ask you for an additional perspective, which is cost per square foot for maintenance. I know that's a weird way to do it. I really appreciate, where's that document? I really appreciate page 22, the deferred maintenance projects budget, but I'd like to see cost per square foot for the buildings. That also tells you which way you're trending in terms of repairs, and if your construction was well established, then cost per square footage for certain buildings should not be very high. But if they are, and we may have to see the buildings the year they were built. I mean, when you look at a building that's built in 1999 versus a building that's built in 2019, there are clearly some things that you should not see in 2019. There are some things you should expect to see in 1999. I also like the fact that you're utilizing the RS means construction cost, but it's a little behind. RS means is a little behind. So we may have to have a second cost construction estimation system, and they do have one that's more succinct. We may have to look at it from that perspective so that whatever the deficiencies are in RS means, we don't miss them with another construction cost estimation system. And that way, some of these prices are okay. Some of these prices, questionable. And so if we're going to maintain our fiscal integrity, we're going to have to take a closer look with a system that's more succinct. But this is excellent, and I think Trustee Cheban and Trustee Reichardt would agree with me that this is very well done, and we appreciate it as we go forward to try to determine what our next steps are going to be as a board to what we will do with all of the facilities that we have. So thank you. This was very well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So is that the only thing that we have to do? Oh, good. Well, we will not have a closed session. Trustee Reichardt is remote. So the audit committee, if there are no more questions from the trustees on the dais, if there are no more questions, we can adjourn the audit committee. Oh, good. Audit committee is adjourned at
3:16 p.m.
Perfect. The meeting of the external
Relations Committee for September 3rd, 2025 will now come to order at
3:17 p.m.
This meeting was called for the purpose listed on the duly posted meeting notice. The other committee members are Trustee Lalu Davies, Sean Cheatham, and alternate Adriana Tamez. A citizen desiring to appear before the Board of Trustees shall complete the hearing of citizens form 24 hours prior to the meeting and file said application with the Board Services Office. There are no citizens signed up to speak before the External Relations Committee. We have one item coming to the committee, and item A is a report item on external relations matters. This is a report item. No action is required. Dr. Ford Fisher will introduce the item.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. This item is for discussion and provide a final report on the 89th Texas Legislative Session, policy considerations, and other external relations matters. And with your permission, Madam Chair, Dr. Ramel Young, Vice Chancellor of Governmental and External Relations, will provide an overview and respond to questions. Dr. Young.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor, Madam Trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to share the report on external relations. We are in the second call special session, and we want to just talk a little bit about our legislative sessions and related considerations. Have before you the 89th legislative session final report. It's also a part of the attachments, but you have a hard copy form in your possession, and it includes our work that was covered during the 89th regular legislative session, to include those items that the board adopted that were acted upon during the legislative session, appropriations matters, and bills that we tracked, monitored, and that are applicable to us, that gives you a snapshot view of what those bills require by way of compliance for the institution. So that document we'll also send to you, if we haven't done it already, Sharon, through the Office of the Chancellor, a document that's electronic. You can hover over it with your mouse, and it'll take you to the relevant section of this document, so it'll be a little bit easier to find things. So we've had two special sessions. In the first call session, the governor identified 18 policy considerations. Notable issues included disaster preparedness, redistricting, in no certain order, public funds for lobbying activities, and taxation matters. No bills passed during the first call special session. That session adjourned on August 15th, at which time the governor called a second special session, and that's where we are today. When the governor called that special session, he identified 22 policy considerations. It convened on the 15th. Notable issues included the same from the special session, call session 1, which were disaster preparedness, redistricting, public funds for lobbying activities, and taxation. And as we speak, the second call session continues to operate. Key bills that we were tracking during the special session, particularly the second special session, and mind you, the first special session, related to the composition of districts. That is the redistricting matter, and the principal bill filed in that regard was HB 4. You note here that it passed the House on a vote of 88 to 52. It passed the Senate on a vote of 18 to 11, and was signed by the governor on August the 27th. There was no effective date assigned to HB 4. I think the rules would provide that if the governor doesn't assign an effective date, it will become, at the adjournment of the second special session, 91 days, it'll become effective. And then, of course, the companion bill, which is also a redistricting bill, was placed on the Senate calendar on September the 2nd. So that was yesterday. We only need one of these bills to pass, and so I think you have that in HB 4. And we've been sending via the weekly activity bulletin notices about the redistricting matter and other related matters. And if you have any questions with respect to those, we're available to answer those questions. The only taxation matter that popped forward is not moving. Well, September 2nd, it was placed on the Senate calendar relating to the requirement regarding notice of certain property tax-related information. Whether it applies to us is a little fuzzy, but what this bill essentially does is require providing transparency in taxation matters. If you're putting forth a tax rate. Want to make sure that the public is fully aware. I think the board is already doing that, but this would be enacted in this bill should it pass. SB 13 relating to the use of by public subdivisions of public funds for lobbying activities. That bill passed on a 18 to 11 vote, and it was referred to House State Affairs on August the 20th. It's had no movement since then. Not sure that's going to make it out to passage. So the only thing that we would be looking at is the redistricting matter thus far. That's on our radar screen. Trustees, I'll pause there because the next section is probably a little more robust. And so with respect to the special sessions, if you have any questions, I'm available to answer any of those that you might have. Okay, so I'll shift gears. And this is a work on which you've been conducting as a board, that the SB 37 relating to the governance of public institutions of higher education, including review of curriculum in certain degrees and certificate programs. You've already covered the faculty, council, or senate component of SB 37, but it also includes training for members of the governing board, that is this governing board, and other governing boards like yours, and the establishment powers and duties of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board's Ombudsman Office, over which you have no responsibility or any action necessary from this board. But we've identified, and I'm hopeful that you are able to see, because we didn't memorialize it in the presentation, but the flyer that we passed out that has to do with review of curriculum in certain degree and certificate programs. That's the big ticket item that's on your agenda for completion. That is the Board of Trustees. And effectively, the time that tolls our work is January 1, 2026. We've commenced some of this work already, but tolling the time is January 1, 2026, and January 1, 2027 is when this work should be complete. So effectively, we have about a year and a little bit to make this go forward. So we assembled the task force that helped with the Faculty Senate initiative, and we've been working to try to pull together next steps that would allow us to ensure compliance with SB 37, the remaining provisions. You note here that we sought the board's adoption of the new Faculty Senate on August the 20th. And so that's done. August 26th, we convened a task force to establish an agenda and strategy for compliance with the remaining provisions of SB 37 to include review of curriculum in certain degrees. On September 3rd, that's where we are today, we're presenting statutory provisions, applicable dates, and a timeline concerning compliance with SB 37. Let me note for your consideration, the timeline for implementation simply serves as a guide. It's likely to change as we learn things, because this is a new bill, a new path that we're treading, and we've been talking with folks who have the same responsibility to include our peers and the coordinating board. So one of the things that we need to determine from the governing board is to determine from you whether you would like to appoint a committee to assist in the curriculum review. It is not mandatory according to the provisions. Let me also say that I am in no way providing legal advice. I'm the government relations person, and I'm providing just policy, my policy perspective, and we can rely on the lawyers for the legal component of it. But it appears that the language provides that you have a opportunity to appoint a committee to walk through this process. What we have assembled is a task force that's been conducting the work up until now. So as we determine from the governing board whether its desires to appoint a committee, we'll proceed to continue it complying with the relevant bills. So that would be something that we should identify. On September the 4th, the task force would convene to review the core curriculum initiative and map our path forward. That would be tomorrow. Convening the task force to address certain minor degrees. So the core curriculum is on the 4th, which is the big component. Then the minor degrees would be on the 11th. We would address that. September the 17th, there would be a regular board meeting at which time we would either report on, or seek action on whatever would that be governance committee? Not governance committee, but the board itself. On September, convene task force to address review of curriculum. That's the task force. And convene task force to address certain minor degrees. In the regular board meeting, we would provide a report or seek action. On the 18th, we would convene the task force to address institutional governance concerning employment matters. And then on the 25th, convening the task force to address the additional board remaining training and sworn affidavits that you'd have to send to the legislature. So this document, you should have it in your possession, identifies all of the timelines in terms of when things are required to happen. And September 1, 2027 is the end date. Let's see, October 1st, tentatively present proposed phase 2 draft policies to the board governance committee with an alternative potential presentation date of November the 5th. That's the piece that I was looking for, Nicole. Thank you. And October the 2nd, convene the task force to position implementation of SB 37 as appropriate. And I might substitute task force for, if the board elects to have a committee, you would substitute that for the committee rather than the task force. But the task force has been conducting the work up until this time period. October the 9th, convene the task force or committee to position implementation of the remaining portions of SB 37. On the 15th, which is a regular board meeting, report or seek action as appropriate. The 16th, we will convene the task force to position to go through the remaining provisions of SB 37 throughout the period of October 23rd and the 30th. Then the timeline in November would be board meeting, report, seek action as appropriate. The 6th, board committee meeting, report, seek action as appropriate. On the 19th, regular board meeting, which is a report or seek action as appropriate. On the 20th, we would convene the task force to position implementation of the remaining portions of SB 37. December 3rd, board committee meeting, report, seek action as appropriate. Convene task force to position implementation of SB 37. Likewise, the same is true on the 17th and the 18th, at which time we would be done for the year. And we would be ahead of the tolling of the time on January 1, 2026, with the remainder of the year for being able to comply. That would take us through January 1, 2027. Those are the immediate first identified steps that we would take to march our way through the remaining provisions of SB 37. Any questions?
Trustee? Any questions? Sean?
I have two. First, really appreciate the detailed kind of timeline approach of how we're going to get through the end of the year with SB 37. It's an incredibly complex and impactful piece of legislation, and I think we need this level of organization to get it all done in time, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
On the general curriculum review, I know we need to make as a board a decision about whether we want to assign a committee to work this on our behalf. I'm curious, when would y'all envision us, or when would y'all envision the appropriate time for us to name a committee to be if we were to move in that direction? Is that a January thing? Is it a November thing? Just curious, like when we need to start, soliciting input from our community members and such to get the right people plugged in.
Yeah, and I would yield to the chancellor on that question.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Young, Trustee Cheatman. I think the appropriate step would be to convene the task force, which will have an additional subcommittee that will be a part of the task force discussions. And this is a part of the conversation that I think would be appropriate to look at the appropriate timing, because quite a number of the academic team members will be a part of the task force as well with the administration. And I think that we would be able to get the best recommendation to the board as an outcome of that meeting that will be held.
Thank you for that. I know there was a conditional in there about maybe October, maybe
Right.
November, but I think that discussion would be good to bring back to us in October, so we have
Sure.
that additional time to get the right nominees from the community to participate. Second question, I've read this legislation a few times, and each time I've read it, I've been confused about this requirement that we need to certify compliance on January 1 of the year that we're going to undertake these reviews. So is this like we tell them we're going to do it and then we do it on January 1, or do we do it and then on January 1, 2027, we tell them we did it? Which way is it?
Yeah. Might I yield to counsel on that question?
Yes, we have looked at that, trustee, and I think it would be best for us to provide a legal counsel memo because some of that involves legal advice. But we are not seeing where on January 1, 2026, we have that type of certification due.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm noticing a lot of education bills that have passed that, based upon the new legislative funding plan, it seems that some of these bills are not going to provide funding for what is required. Is that the case?
Most of the bills from the 89th legislative session, we had a cleanup bill with regard to, and I forget, it said 1786, I forget the bill number. But the short answer is you're correct. Most of our funding is coming out of the appropriations bill, and you'll see that on your introductory page at page 5 in the document that I gave to you. You see the state appropriations in the Texas Community College's appropriations, which is the $2.4 billion, and then the $89.5 million for the supplemental funding. But the remainder of the bills there was only one bill that was a cleanup bill that related to HB 8, and it wasn't an appropriations bill. So we had two principal appropriations bills, the General Appropriations Act, and then the supplemental bill, two bills on appropriations.
So for the board, it's going to be good for us to really know and understand how we will or will not be paid. I know that the list of degrees or certifications has been narrowed. It looked like the most popular degrees have been eliminated from the payment system.
Yeah, and you saw in some of those metrics, and just incidentally, trustees, the primary bill for appropriations is at page 8 in your document, that book, and it's SB 1, and the supplemental bill is up under it at HB 500. But what you're referring to, trustee, I believe, is the metrics that are assigned and which courses get dollars assigned to them. And so some of that has been taken back. We saw some of that at the TAC conference during the summer. Yes. So some of those courses that were once given dollars are no longer going to receive dollars. And so we've been conscious of that.
And I see that there are a few bills from Senate bill and even House bill where they are addressing students with disabilities also without providing funding for that pathway. We have Vast Academy, which is extraordinary, but it's very narrow in scope in that, correct me if I'm wrong, we have fewer than 100 students a year in Vast Academy. Where is Vast Academy? Are they not here today?
Not sure if they're here represented today.
Okay.
We did get a request from the TAC to identify all of those unfunded state mandates and the associated dollars that we expend to maintain those or make those happen. And so we submitted what we thought was helpful for them to share with. In fact, the governor asked for it. So in response to the governor's request for that, we sent that maybe a month ago.
Okay. So I think my statement is, this is a tight squeeze that we didn't expect. With the way that the bills are written, it is not providing funding for some of the mandates. For what we are paid for certain, for certifications, credentials of value, that has been narrowed in scope as well. Yet they've broadened the base for who should be educated and not pay for education, which is good that they don't have to pay, but for us, it's how do we manage it such that it does not become an overwhelming fiscal burden for us. Vast Academy, it definitely needs to be expanded at an extraordinary rate because these bills are making it very clear that this is what is expected of higher education. but I do not see in this bill book where they are actually paying for this. What do we do? So, Chancellor, that is a concern because we have not ever expanded Vast Academy. And even the age for Vast Academy is low. But that now it is in this book as a very real issue and a very real requirement by House and Senate bills. But I don't see where there's any pay associated with it. So how are we going to do that?
Well, I think, it requires us to be really very methodical and intentional about how we schedule all of our courses, whether they're the short-term credentials of value, the general academic courses that transfer, the institutional licenses and certifications, the academic transfer, all of those are going to be key. And we know that there is an increase of students within our community who are neurodivergent. And so we're going to have to address those student populations as well. And I saw Dr. Lewis walk in as well, and he oversees Sue Maraska, who is with the Vast Academy, and I'd like for him to come forward and talk about the expansion of the Vast Academy, because last year there was an expansion, and this year there is another expansion as well to Acres Homes. Dr. Lewis.
Yes, Chancellor. We are expanding the Vast Academy throughout the district, and currently we're setting up opportunities at the Northeast location for Vast students. In addition to that, Trustee, the age range for VAST has expanded. We received a Moody grant, so we have Bridge to Career Pathways, which is allowing those students on the two different tiers of VAST, if they're the upper tier, to be able to complete in the VAST program and then move into a workforce program. In addition to that, under the direction of Ms. Maraska, we were able to get financial aid for those students. So now we have a larger footprint to work with more students. The plan is to expand this out further and further throughout the district, but we had to start somewhere, so it's an incremental spread. Currently, so we have Northeast, Southwest, we have Central, and we're going to continue to expand out to Southeast and all the rest of the colleges as where the populations lie. At students at this point, the exact number, I need to get that exact number, but the numbers for the VAST program normally service around 155 or so students per year due to the level of serviceability and the number of individuals that are needed due to the students' levels of ability. So you have the life skills level, and then you have a level that's working more towards workforce. And we're able to facilitate the two. The most exciting portion of this is that now there's no age limit. Initially, it was looking at 18 to 25. But again, working with Dr. Perez and myself, Sue Maraska, we've expanded that to whatever end. So it doesn't matter the age of the individual. So any student at any age can come back and engage in the VAST Academy with the hope and the encouragement and the supports to get those students to receive some type of credential here at the college.
What are the corporations that are willing to work with us to hire our students? Because I know quite a few will. They have dedicated employment spaces for neurodiverse students that are graduating.
Yes.
What do we have a list of corporations, and how can we expand that list?
Well, currently we're working with MD Anderson. We started this fall with MD Anderson for an internship that students will be working there at that location. We're also working with community organizations such as the Center for Pursuit that I believe is on the east side, and we're working at various other organizations that focus on expanding those opportunities. In addition to the Moody Foundation, they are also working with us to find different types of opportunities for individuals to engage. We're more than happy to accept any leads for partnering with any corporations for neurodivergent students at any point in time. But the college is working towards a comprehensive means by which to address the needs of all community members within this city.
So Dr. Christina Robinson in her extensive list, that does not include neurodiverse employment. We need to understand what that list looks like. And I know that students who are neurodiverse, those corporations do understand who they can hire and where they can put them. They do have an understanding of that. But we need that list because if we've expanded from, I think we should do 76 students a year or something, it was very low.
Yeah, it was
very low.
Yeah, the capacity initially started at Central, so it was a small number of students that we initially worked with, and again, under Sumaraska to build that up. But the team has grown over the years, and the investment of the institution into these other locations has allowed for that expansion, and also the expansion of students who are neurodiverse, and that's grown across the state, as you mentioned earlier, and the chancellor has mentioned. With that same growth, we are working to meet those ends. In fact, we even are working with online options for some of the students who have the abilities to engage in that way. So last week, we had an opportunity to I had an opportunity to visit with Sue and others and looking at opportunities for even maybe engaging in online opportunities for more students through the VAST program.
So we will train them for online learning, because I know during COVID, it was a nightmare for neurodiverse students. That was an adjustment they could not make. So it's good to know that Sumaraska has already headed in that direction. I have to give kudos to VAST Academy. They've done an extraordinary work, and they're nationally recognized for what they do, and they are the best at what they do. And they have literally worked. They've literally made bricks without straw. So I don't know what our budget looks like, and I know our budget is very tight. I'm looking at Dr. Hahn. It's very tight. But this is a population that has grown considerably in this region, but they are eligible for work when those corporations work with us and to define what they want from us. It's the same thing that we've done in the past. When we did it for AI, robotics, and cybersecurity, we brought in industry to tell us what the training should look like, what the curriculum should look like, and all of it became a stellar program. So I look forward to corporations working with VAST Academy to guarantee these students employment. That is, a lot of those students are employment eligible, but you have to find the companies that are willing to work closely with us to guarantee that. So thank you for expanding it. It is a blessing. Thank the VAST Academy team for the work that they've done, because it was not easy to expand, and yet they've done it again. Yes. And so I look forward to seeing them gain yet another national recognition for the work that they've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's my report, Madam Chair, unless there are any other questions.
Definitely.
We did right now.
Yeah.
Like thumbs up.
Teamwork. So I had a chance to present it, but there are many behind pushing it forward. So let's acknowledge everyone else who's been doing that work. So I appreciate it. Thank you for working with us.
So much. Okay. The External Relations Committee meeting will now adjourn at
3:45 p.m.
For September 3rd, 2025 will come to order at 3:45. I'm sorry. The meeting was called for the purpose listed on the duly posted meeting notice. The other committee members are Trustee Adriana Temez, Prieta Vanderbilt Stallworth, and alternate Sean Cheban. A citizen desiring to appear before the Board of Trustees shall complete the hearing of citizens form 24 hours prior to the meeting and file said application with the Board Services Office. There are no citizens signed up to speak before the Marketing Committee today. We will discuss item A, Strategic Communications and Marketing Update. This is a report item. No action is required. Dr. Ford Fisher will introduce the item.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This item provides an update to the Board of Trustees on the Strategic Communications and Marketing Initiative that centers on students, student success, and communication and marketing outcomes. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, Dr. Rima Adil, Interim Vice Chancellor of Strategic Communications and Marketing, will provide an update and answer all questions. Dr. Adil.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good afternoon, everyone, Madam Trustee, and esteemed members of the board. So I do have our monthly updates today. As we being intentional with our efforts, our marketing and communication efforts remain focused on strategically aligning our resources to support the student success. We are working to better align our KPIs with key enrollment matrices to ensure every campaign and every initiative that we have contributes meaningfully to institutional goals, keeping students at the front and center of it. So the first update briefly are rebrand efforts that are going on. We are continuing a phased rollout of our rebrand with visual in the slide decks highlighting our integrated social media and website strategy. We are actively partnering with college directors to ensure brand consistency across all channels and to maintain clear communication with internal and external stakeholders. The next ongoing efforts are website redesign. The website redesign is currently 54% complete and is on a schedule for March 2025 launch. We are in the content accuracy and tagging phase, which is critical to ensure an intuitive and informative experience for prospective and current students. Some of our key generic marketing messages as we are rebranding, we have developed a set of core marketing messages that help us reposition the college with a focus on the student outcomes. These consistent outcomes-driven messages will support a more unified voice across all communication efforts. Our monthly marketing and communication report. So we have, this is just an example of some of the marketing efforts. It's a sample that we have put out there. But prior to getting here, HCC has generated $95 million in earned media value over the last year. So as we continue our effort, we executed multiple targeted mini campaigns, and our comparative July report shows increased performance across all KPIs. The two marketing efforts, the two ongoing efforts that we have currently going on, one is Houston Reconnect campaign. As of today, we have received 466 student leads and 63 students confirmed in enrollment. Our LVN to ADN campaign drove a significant spike in interest, leading to 20 enrolled candidates reaching full program capacity for the fall semester. And here are some new initiatives that we are exploring. And this fall, we are trying to see how we can further align marketing strategies with the student success outcomes and enrollment drivers. With this, I thank you, and I welcome any questions or feedback.
I have a question. Thank
Yes.
you. Madam Chair? Or who's
Any
chair?
questions?
Oh.
Yes, go ahead,
Chair.
trustee.
So on the name change, and you may have covered this, but on the name change, I know we're slowly transitioning. Are we doing, or do we have a plan for a massive blast out of the name change and same vision, same mission, new name kind of thing? And again, you may have already covered this, but I just want to reiterate, because I do have people that come up to me and ask, you changed the name. You changed the name, and I know we're putting it out there in little bits, and we also are putting it out there, but yes, I'd like to know what the plan is to make all aware.
So we have several things lined up. And this is our timeline. I just want to pull it up, but briefly to mention it, we have advertorial created. We have been doing communication through our media, social media, but our big reveal coming up this Friday at the convocation. We have a lot of influencers and media in the crowd, so that will give us a big push one more time this Friday. By Monday morning, we have planned, that is in collaboration with the communication directors at the colleges, to start updating all our websites. So that is currently the plan. But if you can see right now, we are putting out teasers. Something big is coming that is all over the social media. And moving forward, we will have our starting this Monday, actually Friday's effort, we will have our brand reveal and we'll continue those efforts. We do have plans for student engagement on campuses and continue these short teasers. So yeah, we will see it all over the news.
Any other questions, trustees? Trustee?
Hi. Wanted to ask about the Houston Reconnect slide. So 51 students, or now 63 students per your updated number. Great progress, but it still falls quite a bit short of the aspirations that we had when we passed the budget. I think we were thinking more in the lines of about 8,000 students, so a couple orders of magnitude off. Curious, recognizing this is very difficult work to identify students who are living their lives and inform them that there's this great opportunity, and then to convince them to change their lives to come back and finish their education. But curious, through this experience over the last few months, what have we learned? What are we planning to change so that we can get more or closer to the target student population that we had envisioned for the spring semester?
Trustee, this is a very good question. So we are working very closely with our student services partner, almost checking in daily, weekly to see where we are and how we can further enhance our efforts for marketing. It is something that we are also seeing in our Connect 2 campaign that is currently going on. I'll report next month on that one. But we are making sure if we need to put money behind it, we make it a paid campaign. If there is, so we are just making sure we are using different media and different ways to connect with the different audiences that we have.
All right, thanks. I think it'd be helpful to understand in the web, perhaps, where y'all have identified vectors that aren't as successful, where you're changing your approach to try to target students where they're at. Just be good information to have, and we don't need to take up meeting time necessarily for that. So thank you in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I want to make a comment about the social media because I appreciate seeing Houston Community College at the social media level in the passive perspective. In LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is clearly our largest reach. I think it's 130,000 people, something like that. Great reach. Also having them in the meta system for Facebook and I don't like the other one, but anyway, I do like to see. I do see a lot of Southwest. I do see Central, and I expect to see more of Southeast. We need a balance. We need to see Houston City College at the broad brushstroke level in social media, and then each of our colleges has to present itself because there are some specific things that each college has to do and has to offer. And so the social media handles, the profiles and the cover images, I know it's a lot to clean up for a website that we decided to change and then decided to change the name after the fact. So we put the cart before the horse, but we still have to get it done. So in two places, we're not visible, but we'll have to work on that. Because we have to follow my concern is the 18 to 35-year-olds. That's a substantial demographic, and we're missing them. But it's because their social media perspective is very different from what we perceive to be social media. I definitely would like to see a larger footprint in the other media areas, because we cannot forget that those media areas have an impact. So can you all explain to us what the other media areas look like besides social and website?
Thank you, Trustee, for asking. I want to start with what you were talking about, the other colleges and the good things they're doing. You're right, we do need to get all on the same page with social media. We have the people on team. We're establishing a special social media team that's going to look at things totally differently. We're going to strategically send out posts. We're not just going to send out a post about an ice cream social at a campus at 3 o'clock. The campuses can be doing that. The college directors can be doing that. We're looking at strategically coming up with a calendar to where all the college directors or college campus communications directors can be on the same page with us. We're meeting with them monthly. We're going to work with them to make sure we're all on the same page. So we applaud the success that the Southwest College is having, like you said last month. We want to learn from them. You did well with this. How can we do well with it? How we're going to do things differently is we're looking at different ways we're going to reach certain audiences. For example, if we have a reel that performs well, we're going to look at that reel. Who do we send it out to? What are the key words? What are the key phrases? How did we target that? Where did we get the success? And we're going to try to replicate that. We're testing that out right now. We're kind of using a couple of our TV shows to test out our reels and see what draws the attention. Then we can go back to the communications directors, compare our data to theirs, and then we can all be on the same page and see how we can be successful together, as opposed to one college getting 8,000 views for a post, another college getting 80. We want to be all on that team.
Good that you can ask Southwest what were they doing, because they're everywhere. I mean, I have to play games on my phone because I have to stop my mind, and they pop up all the time, even in the games. It's like, what are these guys doing? I'm seeing HCC commercials, the 15-second commercials, 30-second commercials in the games section on social media, which is good because as much as we may not want to admit it, that passive punch sticks in the back of your mind. So, what are they're doing a lot right. I see Central, I see Southeast. One of the challenges I have is I can't repost a lot of it. And I have reach, but I can't repost it because it doesn't allow me to. That's a problem. 2 months ago, I had 899,000 views and none of them were HCC. That's a problem. So if I cannot repost, if I cannot help, that's a challenge, because my goal is to make sure that as many people that I know that I reach can actually see HCC. That is my goal. So you all have to help me to make that right.
Yeah, Trustee, we are building a library, and we are putting all marketing collateral on a schedule. So we will have everything ready prior to every semester, aligning it with the schedules. So we are here on providing monthly reports, allow us to bring more information back to you. I'm sure you'll be pleased. We are in alignment and we are listening, going in that direction.
You guys are doing a great job, and it's good to see us catch up with social media. I would encourage you to also post on the Association of Community College Trustees social site. They're expecting to see success, and we're not posting with them. And so if we hashtag and post with them, I think that's another area where we have bragging rights as an institution in comparison to the other 1,199 colleges. I just happen to think we're the best.
Excellent.
So thank you for the work that you've done, and thank you for catching up to social media, and thank you for the website changes.
Chancellor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And of course, I would like to add on to the comments that were made about the social media and indicate as well that we are attempting to unify all of the work that we do in terms of the messaging, as opposed to having the messaging that might be fragmented in some way. And so that's the reason for the library. But in addition to that, I have to, of course, as you indicated, commend Southwest and Central, but the other colleges as well have been sending out messages also, not just those to Northeast. I've seen those, Coleman College, and of course, I have to address also Northwest, also all of the colleges, but I have to commend HCC TV and Communications because Frank has what is called social media on Instagram, and he has gotten a number of hits. And so we're now looking at ways that we can then bring that into what we do as well to reach a unique audience. And if you could just briefly touch on that, please.
Frank Cooper is going to be working on a 3-person team, which is going to be strategic with social media, as we mentioned earlier. Some of the things Frank, and that's one of the things I've sat down and talked to Frank. Like, Frank, you've getting 60,000 views on one of your videos. What exactly is this? And it goes back to what we used in the news days. What gets the views? The action video. He went out to the Center of Excellence, the Public Safety Institute, and he shot firefighters going up and down the stairs. People liked seeing that, and they started resharing it, and it became viral. We're looking at ways of doing that, but I've been going through, we released a number of, you'll get a report on this next month, but we released a number of videos for the C2W campaign. Their reels. We produced 5 of them. We customized about 12 different ones for colleges upon their choice, but we had one style. Within a few days, with just a few dollars behind this, we're talking less than 200. We're getting 1.7 thousand views on a 10-second reel that leads them to the website where they can register. So we're looking at things, measuring on what works, what doesn't, and if it does work, why does it, and how can we do it again and get better at it.
Thank you all. Dr. Adele, I appreciate your report. We had a short time, and I know it wasn't sufficient for you to go over everything you're doing because I realize you and your team have been working real hard and are doing a lot of positive things. If there's no other comments from our fellow trustees, the marketing committee meeting adjourns at
4:03 p.m.
Thank you.
Committee of the Whole meeting for September the 3rd, 2025 will now come to order at
4:11 p.m.
Meeting was called for the purposes as listed on the duly posted meeting notice. A citizen desiring to appear before the Board of Trustees shall complete the hearing of citizen form 24 hours prior to the meeting and to file said application with the Board Service Office. Mr. Sias is registered to speak. Mr. Sias. Welcome.
Thank you. Members of the board, my name is Jean Sadrac Sius. I'm here to speak to you, obviously, not only as a concerned citizen, but as one who believes in the mission of Houston Community College, which is to educate.
Excuse me, I didn't read my whole script. It's not your, it's my doing. So just hold on. Hold your thought. A citizen desiring to appear before the board, okay, the 24 hours, time allotted to each citizen or organizations shall be limited to 4 minutes. The board may stop any speaker who makes complaints against a specific trustee or employee or comments about the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a specific employee, and may require the speaker to resume his or her comments in closed session as permitted under the Personnel Exception of the Open Meetings Act. And now, to sign to appear before the board is Mr. Sias.
Thank you so very much, very kindly.
Thank you.
Again, I'm here to speak to you, to address you, board of members, not as a concerned citizen, but as one who believes in the mission of Houston Community College, which is to educate, to uplift, to serve our community, and to perform with dignity. As a former instructor, I spent my life teaching for about 30 years, so I'm a former educator. Students rise when dignity leads. Students perform when dignity leads. As a teacher, former educators, board members, all of us, we cannot lead our students if we don't have dignity as we are leading them. I am so excited. I love this institution. I've seen every one of you have great dignity as you perform. The whole city is in love with Houston Community College. I have recruited several hundreds of students coming to this college without you knowing about it. I do care about this institution as a former teacher. Dignity is very important. Leadership without truth is a failure. Leadership with truth is freedom. We need to decide, are we going to give freedom to our students or are we going to fail them? It has come to this community's attention that a newly appointed trustee may have misrepresented her residency, and that is not dignity. If she lies about her residency, what else will she lie in the future? Will she conform to corruption? Or will she, I would say, transform to a corrupt mind? Ultimately, will she be able to perform for our students, for our community, to help the chancellor, who has a great heart for this college? Will she be able to help her to perform for our community. Leadership without truth is a failure. Leadership with freedom, leadership with truth is freedom. Will you give our students freedom? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate concerns raised during the hearing of citizens portion of the meeting. If the matters you raised are not included on the board agenda, state law specifically, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the board from discussing or acting on these issues at this board meeting. The comments provided will be taken into consideration. Thank you. Topics for discussion and/or action will begin with item A, review of HCC investment portfolio. This is a report item. No action is required. Dr. Ford Fisher will introduce the item.
Thank you, Madam Board Chair, members of the board. This is a discussion item to review the HCC investment portfolio, as you indicated, with our investment advisors. And with your permission, Madam Chair, Dr. Sherry Hahn and Ms. Emily Upshaw of Valley View LLC will provide an overview and answer questions. First, Dr. Hahn.
Thank you, Chancellor Board and Chair. This is Emily Upshaw from Valley View Consulting. She's been here before. She will update you on our investment portfolio. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you, Dr. Hahn. Good evening, everyone. Chancellor, Madam Chair, Board Trustees. I appreciate your time. I can spend about as long as you like on this. I can talk all day about investments, but I'll try to keep it as brief as you like. I wanted to go through and give you an economic update, what's going on. I can talk until I'm blue in the face of this, and tomorrow morning when we wake up, everything's changed because of the headlines. So take it with a grain of salt. Things will change, but I'm trying to talk in generalities. I want to give you an idea of what's happening, what's been happening, and how that impacts your portfolio. Last year I came here, we had some recommendations on ways to improve your portfolio. So I want to talk about the progress that was made on that. You've made some good strides there. And then we just have a few other recommendations that you can continue with if you choose to. Just some things that we typically offer for our clients. So I want to make sure that you all have opportunities to discuss those ideas as well. So I'll start with the economic update. So the Federal Open Market Committee, referred to as the FOMC, they're the committee that sets the federal funds rate, and that has a large impact on the rates that you actually earn because as a government entity, you typically have to keep your investments pretty short. Your investment policy requires 3 years and less. So that rate that's set by the FOMC has a really big impact on what you can invest in. Right now, they have been taking the wait and see approach. They haven't been making any changes to that rate because they want to see how various policies that have been implemented will impact the economy in general. So their goal is to control inflation, what they call price stability, and to ensure that employment is at its maximum level. So they are in the business of trying to help the economy along. They can only adjust that Fed funds rate to try and help or hinder the economy in any situation that they need to. So right now, tariffs have been the big headline. They have mentioned before this could have a short-lived impact or it could be more prolonged. So they're trying to wait and see what the market data will tell them before they make any moves. As I left the office today, however, the market probability of us seeing a rate cut of 25 basis points, which is 0.25% to that Fed funds rate, was at 97% for September. So their meeting is September 16th and 17th, and it is highly likely we will see a rate cut. That'll be the first one since December of 2024. So it's been a long time since we've seen one, and that could have some market impacts. The market's already priced in that, so the rates that you're getting now have already guessed that that will actually occur, so rates have actually decreased since then. Some other items that also impact their decision, the housing supply. That has been a big issue. Housing supply has been in short, very short for a long period of time, so prices have gone up, and given that we are in high interest rate time, it's been causing a lot of affordability issues. So that's going to persist, regardless of what the FOMC does. Because supply has been so short, it is likely to continue. Consumers are also slowing. The retail sales have started to slow in general. People are not going out and making large purchases because of the uncertainty out there. This has a big impact on our economy because 70% of our economy is driven by consumers. So as consumers start slowing down, our economy is expected to slow as well. So in general, the Fed funds rate cut is likely in September. There's also another one that's expected possibly in October or December. So we just have to get our heads wrapped around the fact that we will start seeing lower rates. The Treasury yield curve is something that we always look to. Right now, you'll see it's an inverted yield curve. So those higher term rates or higher rates are being paid on the shorter term investments versus the long-term investments. In a normal market environment, we would see a sloped curve with the overnight rate paying much lower than the longer term rate. So we've been in this inverted yield environment for about 2 years now. If the FOMC does start making changes to the Fed funds rate, we would expect that curve to start normalizing. So hopefully that's what we will see if they do indeed start making rate cuts. We included this just so you could see the ebbs and flows over time. This is just looking at the various U.S. Treasury rates over a period of time. So you can see consistencies with where we're at versus where we have been. If you look at the September 2006 all the way to September 2009, you see the rate falls. That was when we had the housing crisis. So we had rates cut very quickly. We had a prolonged period of time where the rates were very low, the Great Recession, and then we had rates start to improve before COVID came along. And then they went through their emergency protocol and they reduced the Fed funds rate very quickly there as well to try to help pump some activity into the economy. We have since gone up as they were fighting inflation. Those rates went really, really high, but now we are expected to start coming down. So what the college has done is starting to prepare the portfolio for when those rate cuts do come, because that's the way to best protect the interest income that you can earn on your investments over time. It's important to keep in mind the investment policy goals. So in your investment policy, the objectives are stated: safety of principal. You do have taxpayer dollars, so you are the steward of their funds. So maintaining safety of principal is of utmost importance. You also have to have liquidity to pay the bills. So we have to make sure that you have adequate liquid funds, so cash equivalents. You also maintain the public trust. We do not want anything that will hinder the public trust in what the college is doing. And then we would expect risk commensurate yields. So you're not going out and taking risks that you shouldn't. So there's a lot of legislation that controls how public funds can be invested. You have to stay within those parameters. So rates are not going to be like what you would see in your personal portfolio where risk is higher. Risk is very, very low because you have taxpayer dollars. So those yields should be consistent with what the market's offering. Just as a reminder, the maximum maturity for your portfolio is 3 years. And then the max WAM, the weighted average maturity, is 2 years. You have not bumped up against that, but it's just something to be aware of. We don't want your investments going too far to the 3-year. So you do have that WAM put in there to protect you from liquidity issues. We wanted you to see the ebbs and flows of your portfolio value. This is very typical of a community college. You bring in tax revenue and you're spending down the rest of the year. This might shift a little bit given that the state appropriations changed. Now that you're getting half of your funds in October, we might see a little bit higher in that December quarter end, but consistently you will probably continue to see the same pattern. This is your weighted average yield. So this is about what the portfolio has been earning over time. So just wanted to point out, we have had higher rates for a long period of time. Things are starting to come down, so you will see that yield curve. It will start coming down naturally. There's nothing anyone can do about it. As rates come down, your portfolio yield will come down as well. The goal is to have it come down slowly relative to other investment options out there like short-term investments. So when I was here last year, we looked at the composition of the June 30 of 2024, and some of the recommendations that we had, you had a 65-35 split of your portfolio, so you had about 65% cash, 35% in fixed income. The goal that we suggested was about 50% cash, 50% fixed income. We also discussed considering collateralized CDs and money market accounts, diversifying your local government investment pools and cash equivalents in general, just because we are anticipating lower yields. So this shows the composition. The top left corner, that's June 2024, bottom right corner, June 2025. So if you were to look at these charts, and I know that the numbers are hard to see here, but in June of 2024, you had a 65-35 mix. When we got to June of 2025, you had a 46-54 split. So you were much closer to that 50-50 split, which was great to see. So when we were going back, you got to that 50% ladder with fixed income. You did consider collateralized CDs. You actually purchased a CD to have 10% of your portfolio held in that CD. And then you diversified the local government investment pools and money market fund options that you had. If you look back at this chart, you had 59% in local government pools in 2024. In 2025, that was down to 30%. So you had shifted some of those funds not only to fixed income, but also to the money market funds, just to give you some diversity between providers. Oops. So our current recommendations, the laddering strategy that you have been implementing is really the best thing you can do to guard against when rates start to fall. So we want you to continue laddering those investments as you have been. Anytime you have maturities come up with those U.S. Treasuries or agencies that you own, we would highly suggest investing those as they mature. We also wanted you to consider collateralized CDs at other institutions. And I wanted to explain collateral just briefly here, just to make sure everyone's comfortable with how it works. So that way you can consider banking institutions that are outside of the big four. When you have collateralized CDs, the bank can collateralize, so they can offer in return to protect your funds securities as collateral, a Federal Home Loan Bank letter of credit, or they can use FDIC insurance. So all of those are eligible under the Public Funds Collateral Act. So when you go to a bank, it can be a smaller, more localized, more regionalized bank. They can offer that collateral and your funds are always protected. So I wanted to make sure that you all were comfortable with that. If your staff were to go out and find a regional bank that's paying a higher rate than one of the big four banks, they always have to offer you collateral, so your funds are always protected. So I don't want that to scare anyone. There are good opportunities out there with some of your more regional banks, so we want to make sure that that's an option for you. The goals of laddering, though, are to hedge future rate decreases. That's absolutely what we would recommend that you do. And it also stabilizes your interest income for your budget. So it makes it much easier to plan for the future about how much income you anticipate coming in. So that way you're prepared. Rates are going to start coming down, so we would expect that that interest income estimate would start coming down with it, but it is always helpful to have that in the back of your mind for extra income. We also want you to consider higher yielding money market account options. So money market accounts are different than local government pools and money market funds. A money market account is actually a deposit at a bank. And similar to CDs, they will actually be collateralized, so they're fully protected. And one of the options that we've seen a lot lately is called ICS. It used to be called Insured Cash Sweep. It's now the IntraFi Services Cash Account. It's managed by a company called IntraFi, and what they do, it's a spread program. So you have one bank relationship, they're paying you a rate that they set at the ICS level, and then when your funds go into that bank, they are spread to various banks that are part of that IntraFi network in under $250,000 increments. So you have FDIC insurance with various banks across the nation, but you have one relationship with that banking institution. So it's just a way for government entities to be able to invest more than $250,000 in any one bank and still have FDIC insurance. So that has become a pretty prevalent option out there, and it's possible that you may be approached with a bank that offers that. So it is a tool that is available, and it's something that I just want you to be comfortable with. We do anticipate lower yields coming. So as I mentioned, laddering those investments, your staff has done a really good job of getting those investments all the way out to 3 years. That's going to protect you over time. So we would recommend that they continue with that investment ladder. I can keep going with any questions you have. Like I said, happy to talk about anything that we didn't cover, but I wanted to give you a general overview.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions? Trustee Wilson.
You know, every day I listen to the radio and one station says the Federal Reserve is going to lower interest, and I turn it to another station and I read one magazine that says one thing and I read another one, and it just, the constant amount of information you get and the varying views that all these different people have makes, my mind is swimming in,
really muddies the water.
I can't keep up with it, but and the tariffs, I really, personally, I have a business and that purchased from overseas, and I've been doing it, and now the product's got a 50% tariff on it, and I'm pretty much out of business. I can't be competitive, and that's what the administration wants, and that I'm not sure how that whole long-term tariff thing's going to shake out, and I do suspect that with the lower interest rates, our yield here at the college will be going down a little bit. So I think we have to be realist about that. And me personally, I don't have a problem with dealing with regional banks. In fact, I've been more successful in banking relationships with regional banks than the big banks. So I'm glad I don't have your job. And anyway, that was a good report, and thank you for your.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, that was a great report, and thank you for coming out and sharing that with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. The next topic for discussion is review of we did that one. Okay. Monthly investment reports, financial statement, and budget reviews for July 2025. Do we have a motion to approve item B?
So moved.
It's been moved in second. Thank you. Dr. Ford Fisher will introduce the item.
Thank you, Madam Board Chair, members of the board. This is a recommendation item for your consideration to accept the investment report, financial statement, and budget review for the month of July 2025. And with your permission, Madam Chair, if there are questions, Dr. Sherry Hahn, Senior Vice Chancellor of Finance and Administration, will answer all questions.
Thank you, Chancellor, Board, and Board Chair. We're doing well financially. Once again, we're coming to the end of our fiscal year. We've seen almost a realization of almost 100% of the revenue we expected, at 97% out of the $465 million of the budget for FY25. You're probably aware of this. Salaries, what I call loaded wage, salaries and benefits represent 67% of our expenses. There's another large category, contracted services, representing 8%. So those two elements represent 3/4 of our expenses, but we're managing them well. On the investment side, we have $2.1 million of unrealized gain. That means nothing was sold, but for the book value has increased by that amount. And the balance sheet, just to make it a complete report. Once again, we're doing better than we were doing in the prior year. We have lower current assets this year because we have improved accounts receivable collections in general, so a slight improvement of roughly $5 million. And likewise, we have a little more on the long-term investment side. I think Emily addressed some of that in her discussion. So we're slightly higher of our long-term investments for non-current assets. See if there's anything else that we can share. We did share some information about our bond debt that was sent out in a TI. We looked at the various expense categories in Fund 1 and Fund 8 across student revenue bonds, Lone Star notes, limited tax bonds, and maintenance tax notes. And we showed the timing of when each of those payments occur, so everyone should have that data. And if you have any questions about the financial reports, I would be happy to address them.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions? Trustee Sheben.
Looks like from the numbers, we're on track for about a 10-15 million-ish dollar surplus for the year. Is that still accurate? Or?
Actually, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it can be a little less. If I had to venture a guess, I would say between 6 and 8 million.
Okay.
We're going to have a soft close of the books probably next week, sometime early next week, and then shortly thereafter a final close. But I'm guessing because of the additional volume of students that we have now and additional staffing costs, we're eating into that 10 million a little bit. So
Okay, no, thanks for that.
it's good news, though.
Good
Yeah.
news.
Well, we're ready to vote on item B, monthly investment report, financial statement, budget reviews for July 2025. Voting is open.
Aaron, that's a yes for me.
And that is Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Voting has concluded. The motion passed unanimously with a vote of 8-0.
Thank you so much.
Is there a motion to approve item C, approve Chancellor's annual priorities and performance goals for 2025-26?
So moved.
Second? It has been moved and seconded. Dr. Ford Fisher will introduce the item.
Thank you very much, Madam Board Chair, members of the board. So this is an action item recommended for your consideration to approve the Chancellor's annual priorities and performance goals for 2025-26. And with your permission, Madam Board Chair, I will go to the podium and respond to all questions and provide an overview.
Trustees, we've had a chance to review these goals and proposed goals, so the Chancellor will, just give us a highlight of them, and then if we have questions, then we'll ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Board Chair, members of the board. I'm delighted to provide an overview of the goals that we have here. We've gotten input from some of the trustees, and certainly the review of the goals this year will certainly provide us with an opportunity to begin the process of addressing the goals much sooner this year than last year. We have a lot of opportunities before us, and I think the goals are really excellent. And I'll quickly go through these so that you will see what we are focusing on. And of course, we have the overview there. And then for goal number 1, increase student persistence from 59% to 61%. And we anticipate that we will be able to reach this goal. The data have not yet come in for the fall 24 and the 25 semester. It's primarily because we're waiting for those students to transfer and for us to get that information, and then we'll be able to certainly certify that we'll be able to have the 59% as the baseline. Right now, it is anticipated, but our target is 61%, the stretch goal 63. The second goal, help more students matriculate through their developmental sequence by 5%. Once again, you see the numbers there, and we have a stretch goal of 6%. Goal 3, grow enrollments and credentials of value by 5%. And of course, with that, you see the baseline as well. We want to achieve annual growth of 5% in credentials of value, the bachelor's, associate's, semester credit hour, certificates, academic transfer courses, occupational skill assessment awards, and of course, the institutional certifications for licensure as well. Next is goal 4, increase the number of students who are persisting to a baccalaureate degree and grow enrollment by 10%. There is continuous interest in our baccalaureate degree programs, and one of the things that the presidents have done is that they have focused on the commit to complete for the students. And as was mentioned earlier, for the early college high school students, they are also being invited to get additional information about these baccalaureate degree programs so that they also can enroll with us at a community college price. You see the stretch goal there of 50%, and you see the baseline and the target that we have set as well. Next is the Houston Reconnect program, which is an excellent program. 50% of students entering Houston Reconnect earn an award within 1 year. And this is what we have been focusing on with the instructional and student services area, and of course with financial aid as well, to ensure that all of the information that students will need would be available to them to immediately sign up for the program. Information was provided earlier about the number of students who've already completed their application. So we're looking forward to expanding our outreach throughout the community in order to ensure that more residents of the community are aware of this. Presidents also are working with their advisory committees to make sure that their workforce advisory committee members are aware of the opportunities as well for those persons who are currently employed in the workforce and would seek that opportunity to upskill. And of course, the stretch goal there is 60% to earn a credential. Next is the Create the LVN to ADN pathway. We're really very delighted with all of the successes that have come with the work that has been done through Coleman College of Health Sciences to get us to this point. We understand that while the Board of Nurse Examiners did approve our offering this opportunity for 30 students in the fall and 30 in the spring, it was determined by the college that 20 students would be great because we're looking at ensuring that these students are able to perform in a way in that they're able to certainly reach that 85% pass rate. And as we prepare, and was mentioned earlier as well, as we look at allied health, and particularly with nursing, that this is a career pathway in nursing that is in high demand, and we want to help fill that gap. So we will start focusing on preparing for 2 years at least for our students to be able to move into that pathway with potentially the RN as well. Number 7, update HCC's technology infrastructure by installing software and hardware updates and develop a technology master plan. We see the goals and the objectives, of course, that are there. And I did receive additional information from the chair, one of the trustees on that as well. And so we'll be including that information in terms of some of the activities and actions that we can address, but certainly we're open to the board for discussion about how you'd like for us to amend that, of course, and we will indeed comply. Number 8 is update the HCC facilities master plan and continue to execute the deferred maintenance plan. You see the objective there, and we are certainly looking at that 15% and not trying to stay below that, that 50 or above, below that 15%. We have been at 12% previously, and we don't want to exceed that 15% of the exigent spending. You had an opportunity earlier to meet Mr. Sullivan, who is our new CIO. I'd like for you to please stand and be recognized as well. Mr. Sullivan is our new CIO, our Chief Information Officer, who will be working with us on the software infrastructure as well as with the master plan as well for technology. Welcome aboard. We're delighted that you're here. And next, goal 9, develop a strategy and timeline to address all statutory provisions of and compliance with Senate Bill 37, including adherence to applicable dates. You heard the report from Dr. Young earlier regarding to Senate Bill 37 and how we are moving forward with the additional piece that will be submitted in January of 2027. Certainly that will be coming to the board, but you saw the timeline for all of the additional components that we will be focusing on as well. And as was requested earlier in the meeting, Trustee Cheapen was asking for a timeline and a date. Then with the task force meeting on tomorrow, we should be able to comply with the request to get all of the information that you requested to the board in October. So that provides an update on where we are with respect to the proposed goals, and I'm open to questions, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Thank you, Chancellor. Trustees? Questions, comments? Trustee Wilson.
being on the board and the board making this document, I think it's a good document, and I think we did quite well. But one of the points I'd like to make, this is the chancellor's goal, but the chancellor has her administrative staff and it's the faculty, and it's everyone in the college, everyone at Houston City College. This is your goals, and we want to see those stretch goals reached, and we want to keep moving forward in a very positive direction. And that's all I wanted to say was it's not just the chancellor's goal, it's the whole college's goal, and the board too.
Thank you very much for that, Trustee Wilson.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I was going to say as well.
Thank you.
Is that, it's all of us at Houston City College. We all going to work together. I've always said we're a team of 10, the board and you, we work together. And better that we can work together as a team. We'll continue striving high and reaching our goals. So congratulations to you. And board members, let's continue forward and shine. So at this time, we're now ready to vote on item C, approve the chancellor's annual priorities and performance goals for 2025-2026. Voting is open.
Sharon, it's Trustee Patterson. That's a yes for me.
Received.
Thank you.
Dr. Tomas is a yes. Voting has concluded. The motion passed unanimously with a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Members
you.
of the board, thank you.
And our work continues. Thank you. The meeting of the Committee of the Whole is now adjourned at
4:48 p.m.
Thank you. I said 5, I'm sorry. I said